and things like that. Kind of see how these large bodies have effect on each other. But then there's Newtonian physics that has to do with interactions between larger, these smaller objects like you and I, and cars and automobiles, and how they hit, the energy transfers and all that kind of stuff. That's Newtonian physics. But then there's the quantum physics that doesn't quite act the same way as Newtonian physics. And we use it every day of our life. MRIs, TV, we come in contact with each other. We're experiencing quantum physics all the time. And there's about 19 different theories of string theory out there right now about how everything is interconnected. And I remember telling people, stay away from those quack-type chiropractors that do things like call somebody on the phone and have them hold their baby and ask them questions, and then they can tell them what's going on. You ever had to eat your own shoe? About a year into this thing with Jenny, or 6 months into it, she was still having problems breathing. I don't know what it was, but she was still having some real problems. And I was going on vacation, and I'm the only one I knew that knew how to stop her to get her out of this thing that had digressed to a really bad level. And I was going to Salt Lake, Utah. But I was a little concerned about it, so I told her, I said, okay, I know that Dr. Graham does this, because I've asked him what to do, and he tells me, test remotely in Denver, what to do with my patients. And I have a real hard time with this, but I know I have to do it. So I took my little book, and I put down the list with me to Logan, and soon, sure enough, I got Jimmy's in there, and she can't breathe, she's shaking, we don't know what to do, and I said, neither do I. And I said, let's see, why don't you just, I don't know if I had her hold on to you while she talked to you or whatever, but I just went down the list, and okay, do this one, and this one, and this one. On the last one that they did, boom, her eyes go back in shape, she stopped shaking, and she was good. And I had no idea. It wasn't like there were 5 or 6 things that I did and they always worked. Everything was different every single time I did. So I had no idea what I was going to do this time, next time. And so somehow this morphogenic field is bigger than just this. And this is the morphogenic field, but it goes on. The aura goes on and on throughout space and life that it has to do with things that we don't even begin to understand. And I'm not necessarily going to try to explain it to you because I have no idea what it is either. But I do know that there's a connectedness to everything. And I do believe, and if you believe in heaven as I do, I believe that all of the answers are like a big library up there. And if we ask with the right intention, true intention, that it's necessary for our well-being, that there's a way of tapping into those answers with one way or another. And that probably has to do with prayer, but it also has to do with other things. And I'm not saying that I get this through praying the answers to me, but at the same time, I believe that those answers are out there and we can tap into them. And when we use the morphogenic field, the body is kind of like a body electric. It has lots of electrical chemical things going on. Every electrical system, every wire carrying electricity that fluctuates has these corresponding electromagnetic fields in and around it. And on our level, we have epithelial scales, muscles, and organs. And in the organs, we have cells, and in the cells we have cell membranes and organelles and mitochondria and nucleus. All of these things have lots of different chemicals in them and lots of chemical reactions taking place that are electronic in their nature. They're transferring electrical signals back and forth. And each one of those has these magnetic fields, and they grow into these bigger fields because they summate, they add together to each other. And they form a number of different torus-type fields around our body. And the morphogenic field, the reason we term it morphogenic, is a little bit different than just your viral field, in that there's very discrete limits of the fields. And we can tell how well you're doing by how big your field is and how symmetrical it is. And one point along the way, the person who's working with this Dr. Springdale said, I don't know why we test the organs. We're treating the cells. Why don't we test the cells? And that got him to thinking. We didn't have an answer for it right there. It got him to thinking that that's really exactly what we're doing. We want to treat the cells before the organs become so diseased that they're the medical doctor instead of us. And so he talked to a man that was really into that. He found that they could make different vials, like homeopathic type vials, where they infuse the same frequency of different cells in the body into this fluid. And it has the same electrical frequency signature of those by that cell, whether it's an abnormal cell or whether it isn't a good cell. So we have all these different frequencies in there that we can use to test, as well as a lot of frequencies of various products and herbs and things like that that help those cells. Okay, so they can use those to kind of test to see what the body's interested in. And they found that it was kind of a permutation of a lot of learning that had happened ever since Goodhart's, Dr. Goodhart, we refer to him, but he was the one that started the whole applied kinesiology. He found that there were ways of touching the body in different areas that would cause the body to pay attention to that area. And when we touch those areas or elicit response from those areas, the body's able to give us back information. And this eventually found that there were certain limitations to this touching and finding answers to things, that using the whole morphogenic field to do the same thing both took a less energy by the doctor, because when you start touching people all day long and testing their aberrant energies and things like that, it kind of has a great effect. My wife often says that I never do it because she's right for that. She always says, who have you been testing? Because, you really kind of low energy. I'll come home sometimes just kind of beat. And it isn't from adjusting people. The physical is not what gets my energy low. It's the emotional energy stress, the stress of the energy that is up here is the problem. And the brain is 10 times less energetic than the heart is. So you can work really hard, but you think really hard, and you can really waste yourself. Okay? So we found out that using this morphogenic field took a lot less energy from the doctor by doing this. So that was good. Okay, so one of the things I need to discuss briefly about where this all comes from, why we test and use the things we use. There's a problem in our society right now with the poison that we have on our plate. We have bugs in our brain, poison in our plate. That's what Dr. Springdale wrote a book about how the toxic chemicals that we eat every day and the foods that we get are damaging our body. And Monsanto and some of these other companies have made a lot of money by completely controlling our food chain that we have, especially in the United States here. And it's been very insidious, and we've just kind of let it happen. But it's really important that we start becoming aware and talk to other people about it, making them realize that we need to take control back with wheat, corn, and soy that we're taking in every day. It's genetically modified by radically changing the structure of DNA in our food so that the body no longer recognizes its food and begins to fight against things and starts causing inflammation and activity in a negative way with a healthy Kellogg's Corn Flakes or something simple like that. It can be very detrimental to somebody like Jenny. Jenny can't tolerate that in any way, shape, or form. She has to be a purist to the nth degree. We finally found something that allowed her to be a little bit more wide range. We found out her electromagnetic fields were switched so that she was positive where she should have been negative, negative where she should have been positive. And I finally found out about this in the seminars I went to. I'd heard about it before, but I hadn't put it together with what her problem was. And so I said, let me test something. And I tested, and sure enough, she didn't go weak. Because normally when you test somebody, can you your arm right here? You just go right. It's kind of strong. That's not true. And that's normal. That's the way it's supposed to be. And if you can't, if that doesn't happen,
normal?
that part of it is anyway. So we found if that's not normal, then a whole bunch of other things aren't normal. As soon as we did some maneuver to unswitch her, to switch her back to normal, all of a sudden she could eat a whole bunch of different things that she hadn't been able to eat for a long time. But her body was rejecting. And I asked, the reason I asked about it is the nutrients that we use are whole food supplements. They're the normal, healthy type things that come from real food. And when I would take Jenny into that room, she'd start to get weak just standing. And when we start to give her something she needed, she'd go into convulsion. She'd go into her little bit. We'd have to spend another 10, 15 minutes getting her back to normal just to do it. So we were hoping she could come to the seminar in the Dr. Spring office because she's not the normal patient, and we have to be really careful about what we do because we can introduce something that may be good for her. She may be having some horrible reaction against something that causes problems. But the reason I